Thank you, Omar. We are recording. All right. Takes a village. All right. So I think it was about maybe 10 years ago. I worked as a jeweler. And so while I was doing stuff, I listened to podcasts all the time. And this one metaphysical person, interviewer, kept talking about her spoon bending program. And the shows that she was playing were like all these ones, like Daniel Brinkley, who came back from the dead 3 times, after being struck by lightning, and these people who would wake up in the middle of the night and some like 6 foot tall, 7 foot tall blue being was in the corner of their room and wanted to show them the universe. And a lot of these people were like, I never asked for this. I didn't want this, and they had all these guides and who knows what showing up, teaching them everything and giving them this like knowing. And I was so frustrated because I wanted to know this stuff and I wasn't like getting it. I understood it, but I didn't have any experience of like knowing it, and I was pretty sure that I didn't want to have a near-death experience in order to get that. And so somehow I bought this woman's spoon bending program, and I realized when I bent the spoon that it wasn't quite, the blue guy in the corner of the room, but it was a proof to me that all the stuff that I'd been learning about what we're capable of and how we affect our reality and how we're all energy, to me it was proof. And if it's not proof, well, I'm using it that way anyway, but it seems like that to me because, to take something, take a spoon that, with my normal everyday strength that I cannot bend, and then to just, sometimes it's just soft like butter. Other times, I'm definitely using my muscles, but it's clear that if I wasn't holding a certain kind of mind space, it wasn't going to happen. And so I got pretty excited. I bent my spoon the first time I tried, and being a jeweler at the time, I actually imagined holding a torch on the spoon and getting it red hot so that because I knew if I did that with metal, that I would be able to bend it. And so that's what helped me kind of get into that space. I tried to teach other people at that time, and nobody else could do it, and they were frustrated, and I was frustrated, so I just dropped the whole thing. And then about a year ago, it occurred to me to pick it up again. I started teaching a meetup group where I was teaching psychic skill building, and one day I think I didn't know what to do, and it just suddenly seemed like I just would run out and buy a bunch of spoons, and that's what we would do. And I think now, because a combination of sort of my confidence and my belief in it and kind of holding the field and holding the space for people, and that it is also 10 years later, and all the people who know these things say that, energy is shifting and the veil is getting thinner and stuff. I think it's easier for us to do things than it was before, our intuition, I think, is closer to the surface. Our awareness of energy, and stuff like that. So I was invited last October to teach at a retreat that I was going to, and there were like 38 people, and almost all of them bent the spoon right there. I had to go through different things, like, I'll just sort of walk us through one, and we'll just try a few different things and see what it takes for people to get there. I guess we'll just start from there. Start from here, okay? Because here's where we are. Okay, so the idea is that we are all energy. We're made up of energy, which is the same thing that the spoon is made up of. And, physicists tell us that there's a lot more empty space in the spoon and in us than there is stuff in the stuff. The idea that like a proton or electron would be like this, a football in a football field. The football field would be, or maybe the football field is the electron, and the football is, the part. not my field of expertise, but just tiny amount of actual matter, and the rest of it is possibility and potential and energy waves. So it's taking that idea and really thinking about that in terms of the spoon and holding the intention that what we want to do is to bend the spoon. So you focus in your mind on it, not like really stiff and hard, actually more in a sort of like how to want to bend the spoon and not care at the same time. So it's like, gee, I would like to bend the spoon and I'm okay if it doesn't, because if I cling on too hard, it's not going to happen because I'm going to get in my own way. So to just, calmly sit with your spoon. I like to kind of rub it with my thumb at the place that I'm going to bend it. And I usually start with the narrow, like let's give ourselves some advantage there. So the more narrow area of the spoon is what I'm intending to bend. And then as we're talking, you might just try it now and then. And at some point, as we're going, you're going to try it and something is going to feel different. Just some little moment, it's going to feel different. And that is your window of opportunity. And so when you feel that moment, and you may feel a shift in yourself, you may feel something weird, fuzzy in your head. You may feel like the spoon itself somehow got a little squishy, and then you bend it, hopefully, but that's the moment. So there's a window of opportunity. It's not like we're going to sit here, for half an hour and the spoon is just going to be ready and waiting for you to bend it. Somehow you have to go into some agreement with the spoon and some collaboration with the spoon, and then there's a moment that shows up. So for me, when I'm doing it, I tend to talk a lot because it allows me to keep my critical voice out of the way. So I'm like busy, I'm chatting, I'm telling you jokes, I'm talking about the spoon. And so the part of me that's pretty much on all the time says, you really think you're going to do this? You're going to get away with this? And everybody's watching you. And are you sure you're going to, or this is metal. And what do you just all of that, right? We've got all that going about everything we ever do, ever. And don't even necessarily know it. And so part of the spoon bending too is to become aware that that's there, of the chatter that we do run, and be able to set it aside. We don't have to refute it. We don't have to debate with it. We just need to. Oh, yes. There you go. There's one. All right. Great.
No, make it normal. Bring it back.
All right. How was that? What happened? What was your experience?
I don't know. I just did it, and it's just so easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, all right, so how am I going to bring it back?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's, now you intend to unbend the spoon, right?
Yeah. I wanted to say my experience right now, it's like, when I started to bend it back, it was easy for a second, but then I just kind of, some thought came in my head that it's still a spoon, and like, then it started to get hard again.
Yeah. Right. And like, what if our whole world that we walk around in is like that, right? We decide, or we're told that things are hard, or it's too tricky, or it's going to be complicated, or it's going to take 2 weeks to accomplish. And what if we just decided not to believe that and to just wonder what else is possible? How else could it go? Does it really have to be that hard? Maybe sitting down to bend a spoon, something I've never done in my entire life. I could just sit down and be willing and open and make it happen. And then you bend your spoon. And so the thing, I want people to know too that even if you don't bend a spoon, I am not saying by any means that you're not also able or capable of bending your life and bending other stuff. It's just maybe, some people can sing on key all the time and some people can't. I guess some people, can access their spoon ability and others can't. But what we tell ourselves in a general course of our day is what we believe about the world. And I think that the world shows up to conform to what we believe. And so to start telling yourself something else, or questioning even, and allowing things to show up differently.
So have you tried a broomstick or anything like that?
No, but I haven't, and I thought about it though, and I thought, okay, if I can bend metal, shouldn't I be able to get something like a pencil or a broomstick to actually bend? I mean, did you mean breaking one, or did you mean bending one?
Oh, breaking. Well, the reason I picked broomstick is because you probably can't break it, but a pencil you might easily break.
Right.
So,
right, but would you be able to bend it into like a curve? And that's what I want to try. I haven't tried it yet.
Because it seems like it ought to work the same way.
All right, we got another bent spoon, Kathy.
What? Uh-oh.
Yeah, and so what's in the way still, like of me and the pencil, is that I don't, I wonder and I want to, but I don't really believe that it's possible yet. I'm not willing to suspend my disbelief. And so like when I first started bending spoons, even just like a year ago, this is about where I got to when I bent it, and it was great because I couldn't have done that a minute ago. But I realized that that's as far as my disbelief was willing to, step aside. And then I was like, okay, so you did that. It's the narrow part, but you can't do this part, or you can't twist it. Or there's a woman I know who actually has seen people bend the bowl of the spoon, just like sort of pinch it. I thought, oh man, so I try now and then. I haven't managed that one. But when I have allowed myself to almost, sometimes it was like to say it out loud, like, okay, here's where my limiting belief is now still on the spoon, right? Like I believe I can do this. And so pretty much on demand now, I can bend this part of the spoon, most spoons. But this part is still really pretty tricky for me because I usually don't believe it. So I'm trying to, even while I'm telling you how I don't believe it, recognize that I have done it and it is possible, and maybe I'm going to actually be able to do it now. And I can like feel that hamster wheel mind go, and it's like saying, man, you're really jumping into it now, and whatever. And still I'm going to try to do it, and it's not doing it, or I'm not doing it. So I'm going to let that one go. But it's each increment of belief or disbelief. And, sometimes when you just step into something, to doing some task or whatever, like one of the examples I like to use, like if I told you, like, tie your shoe, like how hard would that be? You would just go and tie your shoe because you're like certain that you can do it, or maybe you don't have shoelaces. Okay. But if I ask you to do something that you don't feel confident, like there's this whole like tightening up that we go through, and then we try to do it, and we're doing it from that place. And so part of the spoon bending is to allow yourself to be in the present moment, find kind of a calm, relaxed state. And so sometimes it's being quiet, which I really haven't done yet. And other times it's chattering or making jokes to just, be calm and relaxed. But you find your way to just be at ease. And sometimes you find, a metaphor that works for you, or some imagery that works for you. Like one of them is the idea that holding, I'm going to get an unbent spoon, have a whole lineup of it. Okay, so holding a spoon, and I'm aware that I'm made up of energy, and the spoon, the metal in the spoon is energy. And I can sit and imagine like white light coming down through the top of my head and filling my body and coming down into my arms. And I'm just holding that vision and that sensation, or imagining the sensation of it. That energy is coming down into my hands, into the spoon, and it's like it's all running one current. And while I'm doing this, it's actually softening the spoon. The spoon can be, imagine like a soft chocolate bar, or an eraser, something, it's a piece of rubber or something, and just keep holding that image and try, you know, you can give it a push, see if it's going. Nope, it's not yet. I'm still just sitting with the image, and I'm imagining what will it feel like when the spoon actually bends. Just holding that image, and something feels a little different under my fingers, and then I can bend it.
I just cannot do it back. I'm trying to do it backwards right now. But
Yeah. Well, you have until your next meal, right? I mean, you don't have to do it right away, or your next cup of coffee.
But it's like mind blowing. Like, I don't know why. Like, the voice in my head is kind of still saying that it's I don't know. Like, it doesn't. I don't seem like so powerful. Like, something must be wrong with the spoon that I actually got to bend it. Because it doesn't make sense that it's metal and I could bend it.
Right.
So weird.
These are super thick, by the way. These are like super thick spoons.
Yeah. Right. That's a hefty spoon. I mean,
super small, this spoon.
Yeah. That's a substantial spoon. And that's why I say, you know, to get one that's thick enough that you cannot easily bend it, because you're going to say exactly that to yourself. You know, and even when I've bent spoons, or like I bent it and then I don't know if you can see, like I twisted it.
Like
Yeah, but then, still, like I took it to my friend and I was like, here, unbend it. And I expected her to be able to, right? Because if I bent it, it must have just been, you know, a soft spoon. Because if you really believe this, I mean, if you really take it in, it has to change how you see the world around you. I mean, if you're really willing to like internalize what just happened and believe it, then it affects how you go about your day. It affects, you know, how you see the world around you, which is
Me too.
yeah, great. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you know, so that's the thing too. It's like stuff happens, you know, sometimes we want something, we intend something, we set a trajectory, and when we try, it doesn't work. And when we kind of release it and sort of leave it to, I don't know, to grace, or to, I don't know what it is, right? Whether it's, you know, spirit or creator or source or God or just our own getting out of our way, is when stuff can happen more easily and more fluidly, and things come together in ways that we can't with our logical mind. You know, you say, how am I going to do this? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But if I just sort of toss it out and say, I don't know how this is going to happen, but here's what I want, and here's how I want things to go, the universe starts aligning with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anybody else want to say anything, ask anything?
I want to see you twist the spoon. I want to see what it looks like when you do that.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Okay. All right. So the first part is just doing that part, and I've gotten pretty good at that. I'm like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. So I can just do it. This one is my second. And so let's see. Yeah. Okay. I feel it. So I twisted it a little bit, or, you know, about halfway, I guess. And so this one usually takes me a few rounds. And I'm feeling my hand already going in this direction with the spoon in it, you know, and I'm just sort of seeing it already done. And it's not easy. I'm definitely using force, right? But if I wasn't getting in line with it, I could twist as hard as possible, and it's not going to go. And so then sometimes when let's see if I get, oh, it's not going to go. All right. But there. And like at that point, when I was doing right there for a second, I wasn't thinking anything, and so that's like when you're practicing meditation, our minds are always thinking something pretty much. I mean, that's what our minds were built to do. And so in meditation, a lot, the idea, people think it's like to shut your mind up, and it's not really. Mainly it's different technique kind of call for different things, but in general, the idea is that you allow the thoughts to go and you just don't hang on to them. You don't get caught up in the story of the thought. And then somewhere in there, there's a gap. There's an actual moment between where one thought ends and before the other one starts. And I recognized the little tiny gap right at the point. Okay, nice. Teaming, oi. Okay. Great.
The gap.
It is.
The gap between the thoughts.
Yeah.
When you said that.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Right. So, everybody's got their own entryway also, when I was doing it at this retreat, some people, just as I was talking, were, like you guys, just bent it. And then other times it took, I said something and it sort of sparked something, and then it allowed you to bend it. At one point, I did just sort of a walkthrough of like, okay, I'm going to count to 1. I'm going to count to 5, right? And on 5, we're going to bend the spoon. So, and grab another spoon. I spent a lot of time at Goodwill. So, on a count of 1, just becoming present and being aware in my body of just being here, being now. On a count of 2, I'm imagining the energy coming down my arms from both my arms into the spoon. On a count of 3, I'm imagining that maybe the spoon is kind of wobbly, maybe it's not as stiff or strong as I think it is. On the count of 4, I'm actually discussing with the spoon. I'm asking the spoon to be willing with me for it to show up in a different way than we're used to. I'm saying, I know that this is just one way of being, and let's find a different way, a different quality to be. And on the count of 5, I'm in communion with the spoon, and I bend the spoon. And so for some people, that was their way, to be more quiet. And it's like, okay, on the count of 5, you jump, right? You get to the edge of the diving board, we're going to go. And so, we each work different ways. We got to, all right. How's husband doing there? Has he got a spoon?
He's working on it.
All right.
But Michi, I wanted to say, when I did it, because I connected with the energy moving through the hands, like you said, because it's similar to doing Reiki. But I was surprised that the feeling of it in my hands grows, but not to, I want to say, the extreme of when you're doing, the Reiki. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's this opening and softening. And then it's always a surprise for me because it just starts to, my hands just gently test it and it starts to go.
Right.
But this time, because when you had the first webinar, was it Thursday?
Yeah.
That was the first time, Friday, the following day, that I, got it to bend. But what I did was, you were saying wonder. I wonder, what it would feel like. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, I wonder what it would be like to connect with Michi when she's in that state of bending the spoon.
Yeah. And that's when you bent it?
Yeah, that was kind of the connection for the first time. And then today I thought, okay, I know I can do this. I just did it. And I thought, well, I wonder if I connect with myself on the day I did it. And that's when it gave. So it's just fascinating.
And what an awesome tool or technique you just discovered for yourself. I mean, what else can you tap into? You know, one of the energy modalities that I learned is matrix energetics from a guy named Richard Bartlett. And one of the things that I really appreciated about his teaching is that he talks about just that there's like a field of influence, a field of energy around a single person or a field or an occupation, like the expertise that's already sort of built up, and that we can energetically tap into that. So if it's like you need a yogi in a cave for some reason, you can sort of call on our universal connection in the field and like bring in that energy, right? So if you saw me do it, so you were able to call me, and somebody on the webinar the other night mentioned Roger Bannister, the guy who broke the 1 minute mile, or, and that is, once he did it, other people started doing it. It's partly because it's breaking that impossibility barrier, and it's partly because we can tap in to what, like, that person is sort of already brought in focus,
Mm-hmm.
And what if when you're doing Reiki, it was that easy and that non-efforting? I mean, not that Reiki's, but I think a lot of times for me, when I was doing like hands-on or hands-off sort of healing, there's like, it's this intention, like I'm sending it. And what if it was as simple as just saying, okay, here.
I don't know. I feel like I'm still trying to control it. I can feel, I get to a point, I can feel the waves move across the spoon, and then I'm like, I don't know, then I'm trying to control it again.
Yeah, right. Got to grab that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
And so then I lose it all.
Yeah. So what I have found, and I've bent several dozen spoons by now, I mean, almost a dozen just this week. Okay, what was my point? Yes, that besides the outcome of actually managing or not managing to bend a spoon, for me, it's a really great awareness tool and a teaching tool for myself to get to see what's going on in my head, right? So you recognizing that you start to feel something and then you want to control it. And so what if, you work with yourself to find that place of, I feel it, and maybe it's a matter of changing a word in your head and say, I'm going to allow it to continue. Or I don't know what, but something that works for you, but you just kind of got this piece of information about how you approach a task or a project or an obstacle or hurdle. And a lot for me, it's been about awareness of what I say to myself. And I mentioned, on the webinar the other day that I come from a long life of really big depression and being pretty mean to myself and very punishing in my head. And so for me, this is like a great sort of mental weightlifting exercise of, being kind to myself and recognizing being kind to myself and the difference that makes. Because if I'm being mean to myself and I'm saying what I can't do, or, criticizing myself for even, who do I think I am to get out here and share it with whatever, it's not going to happen, because I'm just really cutting myself off energetically and convincing myself of what I can't do. And so instead to be just even neutral, right? I mean, I don't have to sit here and think, oh, I have superpowers. I just need to try to relax with myself and to be willing that there's possibilities, and to be willing, it may work, it may not work. And I think for me, that's a key to not to, yes, I'm preferring an outcome. Obviously, I want to bend the spoon. I want to bend it to show it to you. I want to bend it because I want to bend it. But if I get so hung up on having to bend it or having to prove that I bend it, again, I'm like, constricting my own flow. And so I get to see those things every time I sit down to bend a spoon or teach somebody to bend a spoon. I have to watch my own inner workings, the kind of the static that I run in my mind. And sometimes it's not about me personally, right? I mean, it's not necessarily like, oh, you suck, so you're not going to be able to bend a spoon. Sometimes it's as simple as like, hey, this is a spoon, it's metal, and they don't bend. So it's not, my limitation of myself. It's my belief in the rules and regulations that we think we live under, right? And, even like science keeps proving things that we didn't think were true before. So there's all sorts of things that we are walking around believing that are not necessarily true, or they're true when you go with this box or this rule book. And if you are willing to shift to somebody else's rule book, then maybe that's true for you. Right? So, and I feel like I'm feeling something happening here. So there might actually be some handle bending here if I don't get too nervous about it now that I mentioned it. But does that make sense? I mean, I that was very long-winded, but you're muted. Omar? Oh. Yeah. So, I mean, does that feel like something you can kind of play with, or?
Yeah, I just need to get out of my own way. I think that's what it is. I mean, I do work with a lot of energy and healing, and I just let whatever it is come to me. But this, I kind of feel like I'm trying to control it. So I'm trying to get out of my own way. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
And, doing it in a moment on a teleseminar isn't necessarily your best venue either, Okay, there you go, Marcy.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so what did you feel when you did that? You have no...
She said she's muted.
Right, got that, thank you. I feel like I need to learn sign language in order to participate in these things, but then you would have to learn it too. Okay. So, yeah, I did a workshop where there were a couple of people said that they felt like it started to bend, and then they were like, and like scared themselves or surprised themselves too much. And then they were, it's like, whoop, that window shut.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what happened to me Thursday. It was doubt. It was the doubt. Because I did start to bend it, but I thought, oh no, that's me. And I stopped.
Yeah.
And then, after getting out of that focused state, and of course that spoon wasn't bending, it was the co-creating.
Mm-hmm.
That was the huge lesson, looking at it as a life lesson. And in working with the universe, the lesson that came through for me was that, I do need to give a little bit of my own effort and energy into co-creation. And that was huge. So today it was a little bit easier, and the opening lasted a little bit longer.
Yeah. Great.
So I'd like to share something.
Yeah.
When I was first wanting to bend spoons a couple years ago, I was aware that I was scared that it was like I was going to crack open my view of the universe, and then everything was still in, and I'd never be the same.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what is this going to mean? It's going to mean everything's going to come to me at once, like the big gifts, And what I realized is that it happened in that now, and then it went away, and I came back to just how I live and think. And then another miracle would happen in a now. And then I'd go back to the way I normally am. And I got used to a different level of kind of miracles being possible, but I still had a totally doubting mind every time.
Mm-hmm.
To discern my mind versus the magic that is always available. And I know I go back and forth between the two.
Right.
And my mind actually deny everything and make up a story or like cover it up with distraction. And the mind is just can't make sense of it. So I just know that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the mind has, like I really want to bend this handle, the mind does, but I felt it going soft. And then, I noticed my mind thinking about it, just having fun playing with that because this is so familiar is to notice the mind, the magic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing is that if we did this and it totally cracked us open in that way,
Right.
it would be pretty tricky to get on a bus or go to work in the morning or, there's like a survival
Yes.
and survival necessity, right? That we don't just start like levitating on the
Right.
way to our car in the parking lot, unless we're like ready, to deal with that, So I like how it came to you in sort of measured doses, as you were ready for the next one or as you were willing for the next one, and it didn't get like crazy out of control.
Right. It was my new normal. And then I still notice that when I talk about it, it sounds kind of crazy, some of the stuff that I've had happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I still know that it did, but it's like the mind can't handle that big of a thing.
Right.
Until I drop into mind.
Broken spoon. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just start to notice that you're kind of in and out of it. You're either soft focused and in the magic, or you're kind of back on the grid in this world.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I'm not teaching spoon welding today, so you're out of luck there, Omar.
Man, I was hoping we can bring it back to life with our minds.
That's my limitation, right? I mean, why not? Why couldn't you sit there and imagine it back at one and make it so? Go ahead, and then you lead the next webinar. So yeah, a lot I've seen people and myself, I've been to spoon, and then like Emanuela, I'll immediately doubt it and think, well, it was a really soft spoon, and maybe I just didn't try hard enough the first time with my hands, and then I did. And then I've seen other people who've never bent a spoon before, like, some of you, and they bend it, and then they just like put it down on it. It's like, okay, I did it. I'm like, wait a minute. I made change for $1, and then walk away. Oh, I just bent a spoon, walk away. I'm like, just a minute here. You really did something. Like you were saying, I mean, sort of and I wonder if part of it is like a protection against having your world break open. Right?
Yes.
So I like what you had to say and how that worked for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that you did this because it's been a while since I've done a spoon, and you start to believe, like the mind builds up a little wall, like, well, that was then, I can't do it now. And it was like so
right
to meet with the spoon in that way. It's like
right.
It's still.
And it's a really cool thing, and it's not a superpower, and it's not something that you have to like sit and meditate for 4 hours or do a cleansing fast for a week. It's like, I like it because it's so accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody does it, and I don't do it all the time that I try, but it's relatively very accessible. And so it's not like, oh, well, I bent it because, that month I was meditating every day, and I was jogging and I was eating right. And so now that I'm not, I can't do it. It's like, no, this is innate, it's possible. And then it makes me think, what else is possible? And I start to wonder, like ask myself, what about this? What about that? Or I made a little video a few weeks ago about actually things were really going well in my life. And I think maybe I was afraid that stuff was going to kind of break open in that way, and maybe I wasn't ready, you know. And so I felt myself really sort of shutting down and getting cranky, and like my depressive tapes that run were starting to come in, you know. And I was able to really just go back to reflecting about that space that I get into and the possibility of the spoon. And I was like, okay, I recognize this is happening. And like, do you mean to tell me that you can't shift a mood or shift a state of mind? Like, I can bend a spoon, but I can't sit with myself for a moment and get out of this fear place or this, you know, self-doubting place and shift into, like, you don't have to have the answer, right? You just have to shift into neutral. And it worked for me. I mean, it was enough to really change my feeling in the moment and my outlook on the day. And I had, I think, a really different day than I would have had had I not been able to do that.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and again, it wasn't like, oh, okay, so, you know, you're having a hard time, so I think you better, you know, take the day to meditate or, you know, start drinking green juice or, you know, whatever, and then feel better. It's like, no, feel better now. And then do those things too if they move you and then you want to, you know. So
the first time that I bent a spoon, I was asking the spoon if it would bend, and I felt this little message back to me asking if I would bend. And it was like, I'd been like in a block with somebody that was asking something of me that I didn't fair. I knew exactly what the spoon meant about that. I said yes, and I was willing to do what that person wanted in that moment. So bent at the waist, and the spoon bent. For the wow, the spoon and the universe, everything was all, you know, it was metaphor.
Mm-hmm. Right. And wisdom coming to, you know, like teaching us from the spoon, right?
So the way that you just said about the mood bend, you know, mood bending, that's really perfect.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. How you
Hey,
doing?
how you doing? So I want to know what I missed.
Well, let's see. First, all right, here's a short story. Another spoon. This must be spoon number 4 or something.
Wow.
All right, you're holding a spoon. You're made out of energy. We're all energy. Spoon is energy. Lots of empty space in there. Lots of empty space in here. The idea is to find some empty space in here.
Yeah.
And just suspend disbelief for a moment and be willing for this, allowing for it to happen. Like Kathy was saying, you can even ask the spoon if it would bend. You can, you know, some people like to command things. Other people like to ask permission. But basically, you're kind of going into some sort of energetic communion with the spoon and with the idea that even though it normally shows up as hard and stiff metal, that can change. That's just, you know, one possible state of being. And so I like to rub it sometimes with my thumb, just more as a focus, right? That you could rub it for the next 10 years and you would not rub it thin enough or hot enough to, you know, bend it just from the rubbing of it, right? And then just keep feeling that, and every now and then kind of give it a little tug, see how it feels. And then at some point, one time you're going to bend it. I mean, you're going to go to bend it and something is going to feel different. Or you might feel something different first, and then that's your window of opportunity, and then you bend it.
Yeah, I find myself like being very logical about it. Like, this is a piece of metal.
Exactly. Right. And it's, you know, it's that thought, it's that telling yourself that will absolutely keep it being a piece of metal. And when you find a way, all right.
Sorry, I heard Kathy Price. She said to bend with the spoon. So I imagined that, and then I bend with the spoon. I bend it a little bit like that, and then I did it a second time. I said, I'm going to bend with the spoon some more, and I bent it more. So thank you, Kathy, for
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many ways to, get to that place.
Yeah.
And then so many different places to apply it. So yeah, Chris, as long as you're telling yourself what it is, there's no room for it to be something else. And when you tell yourself what you can't do, there's no room for what you can do.
Right.
And so you don't have to decide what it will be or what it will do. I mean, that's sort of the good news. We don't have to know what's on the other side. We have to just kind of open and be willing and allow something different to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Because even my saying, well, you do this, and then you can bend it, well, that's limiting. Maybe something else is going to happen.
Mm.
Maybe you put your finger through the bowl of the spoon, or, I don't know.
Right.
Or nothing happens to the spoon, but the top of your head feels like it's like blowing open.
Right.
So the less that we decide what's going to happen, I think, the sort of the more magic we're open to.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On Thursday night's seminar, a couple of things that I talked about too that I just wanted to mention, if people don't know, is this guy Masaru Emoto, who used to take he would freeze water and then somehow take just like a single molecule and look at it under a microscope. And he saw that depending on the energetic that was around the water before it was frozen, it formed completely different looking like snowflake crystals. Mm-hmm. And so he started experimenting and like just writing down the word love and taping it to a glass of water and then freezing that water and photographing. And it'd be this like beautiful, kaleidoscope, perfect snowflake crystal. Mm-hmm. And then he would take another glass of water and tape like I hate you to it and do the same thing. And you could see it was really sort of misshapen. It was, was not cement. There we go. Woman with book. Perfect. Yeah. And he did things like he took a group of people to, I think it was the most polluted lake in Japan. And they tested the water initially and then had people just stand there and just like send love to the water. And then test the water again, with the same thing, looking at the crystals. And it was completely different. And it's like, oh my God, we're that powerful. We're that capable, especially in concert, right? When there's a whole group of us sort of beaming love or beaming peace or beaming possibility. And so we could even now just all sit here and just send some love to Chris's spoon. And, and imagine it cooperating with us and becoming soft and able to just soften up and take a different shape and allow for some space and spaciousness around this. And calm. Just being peaceful with the spoon, letting the spoon be something different, take a different shape. Not putting any pressure on anybody, even though everyone is watching you. So some of it too, and you probably missed this part too, Chris, of like, yeah, it's great if you bend the spoon, and the process of attempting to bend the spoon and what you realize, what you get to hear, and what you get to see about how you approach things is a great place of opening and growth.
Right.
You know, finding your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a rigidity about how I approach life and the world and how things are supposed to happen, and, you know, being very attached to circumstances, especially, you know, what I've been taught and programmed over the years and stuff. So releasing those is definitely a big process.
Right. And so rather than have you figure out how to convince yourself to unbelieve that, you know, what comes to mind is like, what are there things that you already do or enjoy in your life that feel fluid and in the moment? Like, I don't know, do you surf? Do you body surf? Do you skydive? Do you know, what, I mean, are there things that you do where you're just really, or dance even?
Yeah. I definitely dance a lot.
Like letting it, you know, letting those rigidities, that structure down, right? Although when you dance, you can still be, you know, but so you might imagine dancing with the spoon, right? And just really, you know, just be with it, and maybe even put on music that you like to dance to, and maybe even actually dance around in your living room with the spoon in your hand. And see if you feel that moment, right? So then what's cool when you do find the way that works for you, or the analogy that works for you, is that then you can take that and place it where you want it, right? You can place it in your, you know, how you start your day, or how you run your business meeting, or, you know, whatever. It's like, you don't have to like undo all of that. You take something that works somewhere else and just bring it in.
Right. Cool.
I like to add to that.
Yes.
So I work, when you mention Masa Remoto, I actually work with water. I can download frequencies into water remotely and stuff like that. I can also download frequencies into people. So what I did was I downloaded the energy and the essence of possibility.
Yes.
In myself, and then I'm like, okay, I just spent it.
Yes.
Because that's essence and energy of possibility.
Right. And since that's work you do, I imagine you believe in it. You know, I mean, you've seen results and whatever. But like for other people who are like, well, that's a cool idea, but how would that work and whatever? Like, to me, again, it's like the spoon is like, well, that's how it works, right? Because you do something, you shift something, and then it shifts. So you can do that to water, and then I can drink the water, and it can affect me differently. And so it's like all these incredible things that I believe are possible, and then all these teachers are talking about and doing. And when I discovered spoon bending, it was like the way to get the tangible, immediate proof to help that doubting part, you know, to get over that hurdle of like, well, that'd be really nice if it worked, but, you know, but I don't believe it, or but it can't really, or, you know, how could that happen? I don't know how it happens. Cool.
I bent it once this way, and then I unbent it, and then I bent it again, and I bent it some more.
Yeah.
So, each time I'm using something different.
That
all of you like kind of pinged, like ping, ping, ping. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. That's great. Yeah, I think I'm going to start having these, like, I don't know, every week or two or something, and we can just talk about how we're bending our world, you know?
Yeah.
Spoon, don't bring a spoon.
It's awesome.
Great. And actually, so I started a Facebook group called SpoonBenders Cafe, and that's what I'm hoping for it there is to be able to have these conversations, or share, you know, what you bent, or how you shifted something, and to just keep, you know, supporting each other. And okay, are you drinking out of like a 5-gallon water jug?
It's a gallon. I'm actually on a fast right now. I started on Thursday. I ate my last meal Thursday night, and I'm not eating until Monday morning.
Wow.
Doing some juice. So yeah, just really going through a lot of different like shifts and stuff, and
Mhm.
developing my willpower, just ability to like kind of face adversity and stuff. So
Yeah.
Like,
All right.
do you
Well, don't be
like
stumped by a
to-
spoon then.
I know, right? I'll keep working on it. I will not give up.
Right. And I mean that both ways, right? Like jokingly, like don't let it be the thing that where you hit the wall, and then on the other hand is like don't let not bending a spoon tell you anything about who you are
Mhm.
and what you're capable of.
Mhm.
So Chris,
Yes.
would you like the energy and essence of gratitude in your water?
I would love the energy and essence of gratitude in my water.
Okay, all right.
Mm.
Oh, and then anybody else's water too, if they have.
Put your waters up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah. Great.
It's
Anybody
actually
else?
yeah.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like some lessons that I learned in martial arts, where if you're stiff or like like normally in the normal like fighting mode, your adrenaline comes up and you get stiff, your body gets stiff, and it's harder to think and it's harder to move, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the martial arts training is like to relax your mind and be relaxing throughout your body and just stay in the flow. And doing that, everything's just so effortless. It's just you can do all kinds of stuff. There's no limit of what you can do. And there's a lot of other things too that goes with it, but it's even more like if you were to get hit or something and you're relaxed, it doesn't hurt. And if
Mm-hmm.
you hit someone while you're relaxed, it's actually more painful for them. It's more effective, I guess. I don't want to sound like aggressive. It's just martial arts, but
Yeah.
just getting to that zone where you're just in the moment, just quiet and just in that effortless feeling. It just everything happens so easily.
Mm-hmm. Right. And to take that zone with you to use wherever.
Exactly.
Right. Like to use it, in the airport when you're standing in the security line, you're getting all like bent out of shape, or the people around you are getting bent out of shape. Instead to stand in your flexibility and your spaciousness.
Yeah.
And then, it travels. In the same way that one cranky person can start, a chain reaction of cranky, one not cranky person can start a chain reaction of people feeling a little more relaxed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Wow, Chris, I believe in you. You can do it.
I'll do it.
All right.
You
Bending, unbending. Great. So if I was going to do this like on a weekly or...
Oh, I did it!
Yay. Good job, Lynn.
Cool. Like what's a good time of day or...
Oh my gosh, I did it.
All right. Sorry. I'm just...
I'm like overwhelmed. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Nice. And so what shifted for you in that moment? Could you track it?
Well, I mean, and all the way through, I could feel it like the metal just soft and movable and like flowing. But as I get to that point, I was holding back, and then this time I just went with it, and I felt like it wanted to do something different, but then it just went in my hands. It went really soft, so it was like everything's letting go. Oh my gosh, this is exciting!
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Now I have to hide the spoon so my husband doesn't know. Go buy new spoons.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
You are welcome. I'm excited that you had that moment. Yeah. So would you guys want to, do this on a more regular basis, or?
It'll be great. Thank you.
Personally, I wouldn't be able to commit to it like on a regular basis, but I definitely think this is awesome that you're doing this, and I think more people would appreciate it. If you get more people in. And I'm not sure what you actually do, like what is your business or whatever, but
right. Yeah. Well, so what I do is I coach and I mentor people. Obviously not, the spoon bending is sort of the, the inroad, but all this other stuff about like your mindset and learning to take your inner critic and actually make it into an ally, and, work with being open to possibilities. I do different energy work too and help kind of shift blockages and let go of shit that's in your way. And so
Awesome.
I work with people individually, like one-on-one. I do some groups, and what I'm hoping to do on Facebook or somewhere online is to create like a membership group where people could really be a community together, and and I would be working with people, and then maybe once a week or every 2 weeks do a coaching call kind of thing, where you could bring not your spoon problem, but like what you're feeling stuck on, or what you want to shift, and then we could work on that together.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, welcome.
Cool.
I think that about for me, every 2 weeks or once a month, it would be great to check in and talk about that and be able to refer people to join. And then just get kind of used to the idea that we're all bending our worlds, and that the universe is trying to respond to our heart's desires. And about that too.
Yeah, great. Yeah, once a month. I don't really want to have to be somewhere once a week either. So what was I thinking? All right. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. And
you're not alone yet.
Yeah.
Gotta allow.
It's
keep allowing.
That's exactly right.
Right. Yeah, and so also on Thursday night I talked about, which I don't know that I talked much about, is like really not being mean to yourself, right? And just not using this as like, proof that I suck or proof that I'm this or that, right? But as information, as awareness that you can then also bend, right? Or now what are you bending?
My phone.
I'll help on that one. Try it again.
Yeah, I might start with something that I'm not as attached to, right? But but it's it's the same thing. Like when the stories of like the woman who lifted the car off her son, because in that moment, she was just not. There were no obstacles, right? There was like, this has to get done. And I'm guarantee that person wasn't thinking, oh, that's going to be too heavy. There's no way I can do that, Right.
Limitless.
Yeah. And it'd just be like,
and I was going to say like this, the same thing, like if you're like working out, like if you think about the weight that you're lifting or whatever it is, the workout, and you think about like the numbers of like how many reps you've done in the past, like it limits you, But if you don't even think about the numbers and you just like keep doing it, keep breathing and just do it, like, you lose track of everything and you can do it, you can do like, I'm guessing, I believe truly you can do as many as you want, but, there is still that logical mind that will just come in all the time. Like, when I start to get really, pushing myself to the end, like to the limit, I feel the burn. And then, there always is that point when it's like, just, you know, stop. I don't know.
We have a limiting belief of fatigue and lack of energy, or finiteness of energy. Really, like in parallel universes, we could have infinite energy. And
Right. Yeah. Right. And maybe, you know, your muscles have like a stopping point that makes sense for them, but probably your brain is talking yourself, you know, telling you it's harder. You know, like you're not listening to your muscles, you're listening to your head, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I've actually had dreams that I've been doing. I've done like a ton of like pull-ups or push-ups, like, and not feel any like tense, like any soreness at all. It's like really weird, you know, these dreams. I'm just like nonstop. I'm like, oh man, am I really doing this? And then I feel in my head, oh my god, this is like crazy. I just did like 1,000 push-ups. And then once I think that, then it's like, oh man, it starts getting hard. It's actually in my dream. It's
Doing my preparation for the school and just letting me know this is coming.
yeah, cool.
Awesome.
Sweet. Any last questions, comments before we close it up?
See ya.
See you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Miche. You're awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate you guys coming on. It's been fun.
Thanks a lot for making it possible for us to be here live.
What's that?
Thanks for making it possible for us to be here live, because we couldn't like the other day.
Great. I was hoping that this would be early enough that you could manage it.
I'm super grateful that I got on and did this, and I'm still doing the registration as I promised. So you taught me how to bend the spoon, and I have to make a registration.
Okay, great. Yeah, and really, anybody, if you want to post photos or talk about any of this, you know, say what it was like on my Spoonbenders Cafe site. I mean, not the site, the Facebook group. That'd be awesome. I'd really appreciate it, and we could just keep talking about stuff.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
So that's a
Great
group.
day, everybody. Bye.
See you guys. Thank you.
Okay, we're out of here.